Tell us a bit about your role this time. So what did you do at camp?
I know we had it at my school. I never did it. I never worked at a nursery or worked in like a primary school with kids.
It actually brings out a bit your inner child.
100%.
That's why you know what it's like, why it works for you.
Yeah. I mean, like, I had the cliched ones from like watching Camp Rock
Yeah,
and seeing
yeah,
the
yeah.
Parent Trap, and I was like, okay, I've got a loose idea of what summer camp is.
Yeah. What is it like actually working at camp? To be honest, I'm knocking on a bit, so I'm not ideally the best person to speak about TikTok, but like the amount of people that are on it, and you see some class stuff as well.
Oh, it's really, like, it's just, we could probably talk about the human element and how it's definitely bad for the brain, but it's just, it is what it is. Like, it's the thing at the moment, so you've got to kind of be up to speed with how it works and whatnot.
Especially if everyone's on it. If that's what
that's where the conversation is. You need to be.
Well, that's it. If people want to see, then that's what they want to see. So cool. All right. Well, I suppose talking about what things people want to see and want to hear. Summer camp's got to be right up there, as was shown on TikTok.
Yeah.
What's that one? 500,000 people.
It's trending. People are searching for it. People are wanting to get over to summer camp and have the experience. Yeah.
That's it. We'll divide that by 500,000 and that's what we might have now. But I think in the first episode, we had a chat about kind of your first week at camp and how amazing that can be and how overwhelming and stuff. But I think once you've got past that first week, you're kind of into it, aren't you? You're into
it. Happens pretty quickly, yeah.
You're into summer camp. So I think one thing which stood out to me, and I probably noticed this more after I'd been to camp and the benefits that came afterwards, was the effect that summer camp actually had on my career.
Yeah.
And as a professional, and you just kind of, you look back and you realize all these different things that you've picked up skills wise. So I thought that would probably be something that would be really cool to cover and let people know what that's all about. So I remember when we spoke last time, I obviously know which camp you went to and everything like that. Tell us a bit about your role this time. So what did you do at camp? Had you had any experience in this role before? And we'll go from there.
So the first year I got hired as a general counsellor, which was living in a cabin with the kids.
Okay.
So when I had my interview, it was kind of set that, you'd be in a cabin, there'd be 2 other general counsellors. Yeah. You'd be looking after a group of 10 kids. You'd be responsible for getting them up in the morning, making sure that they were dressed. So for me, it was the youngest kids, making sure the t-shirt was on the right way around, making sure the left shoe was on the left foot, right shoe on the right foot, very basic stuff. But they just need a little bit of help. And then taking them to breakfast, taking them to their activities, making sure that they find their way back to the dining hall for lunch. So a bit of kind of everything. And I got to teach a bunch of different activities as well. So we would fill out a big preference sheet at the start. So I would put like a 1 next to soccer because I felt pretty confident in that. And then I would put a 3 next to art and crafts because I'm not really a creative person. It's not where my strong suit is. And then the program director would take your preferences into account and make you a weekly schedule. Okay. So I think for 1 week, I did teach arts and crafts because there has to be a rotation. Everyone gets involved in a little bit of everything. Yeah. But for maybe 6 of the 9 weeks, I was teaching soccer. So it was something I wanted to do and had a passion for. So got to have a little bit of a go at everything. Did riflery, did swim lessons, did volleyball, I think we spoke about in the last episode. And just got involved in everything, which was great for me. And I think great for the kids to see this awkward British guy trying to do things that they were also trying to do. So it hopefully made them feel a little bit comfortable. So a bit of everything really.
And I think that's one cool thing about summer camp, isn't it? I think we spoke about it already, but you do get to try so much stuff, don't you? It's like you said, you had football down, arts and crafts, riflery. Even though you're a camp counsellor and saying you're doing one thing, it's not as though, and again, if we break it down, you've got camp counsellors and activity specialists as well. It's not as though the activity specialists are just all the way over there and that's it, and then you're over there and over there and that's it. Yeah, you get a bit involved in
particularly
everything.
In my camp. So everyone was in a cabin.
Yeah.
And other camps, activity staff might be in their own cabin. So it's all camp specific. Yeah. But I would still hang out with the ropes team, and I would still hang around with the archery team. And I think last episode we spoke about chiefs. We had chiefs, people who looked after individual parts. Yeah. And I would eat lunch with them, or I'd go and hang out with them during rest period, or shoulda, woulda, coulda, where you can do a bit of everything. I'd still see everyone at camp. So it wasn't like, the lifeguards are the cool kids, we can't hang out with them.
Like you stay away.
It was still a community where you got to get involved in everything and do it.
I love it. And so when you went through the process with camp leaders or when you first went to camp, as a camp counselor, you're obviously going to be working with kids a hell of a lot, that you're almost their role model. Kind of at that point, they look up to you because you're with them day in, day out. Had you had any experience with kids prior to this? And I suppose going into it, if you hadn't, how did you kind of go, okay, I'm going to adapt to this and get used to this new role?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say no formal experience. I never, did like a childhood education subject at school. I know we had it at my school. I never did it. I never worked at a nursery or worked in like a primary school with kids. The closest thing I think I did the Duke of Edinburgh Award.
Same, yeah.
And as part of it, you had to do a volunteering part of the Duke of Edinburgh. Yeah. So I helped the younger Duke of Edinburgh students. So when I was on silver, I helped the bronze kids. Yeah. And then when I was on gold, I helped the silver kids. So it was kids around about 13 to 15, 16. And I was only a couple years older than them. So a very unique experience where you're not, you wouldn't leave someone who's 15 to look after someone who's 13. But that gave me a little bit of a kind of background into how teenagers would work, and, felt confident that I had that in my kind of, backpacker skills. But then when I got to camp, they put me with the 7-year-olds. With you. So I didn't have formal experience with the 7-year-olds, but what the camp staff did and the directors, they could see that I was fairly high energy. Sure. I didn't mind making a fool of myself. I got up on the table and had a bit of a sing-song and would dance and make a fool of myself. And they kind of assessed and said, after the 1 week of staff training, we think you'd be a good fit with the younger kids. What do you think? Amazing. And I said, yeah, absolutely. I think you're spot on. You're right. We would learn about the characteristics of the different age groups, and it was very collaborative. Love it. So if I said, no, I want to be with the older kids, camp would have accommodated and helped me figure that out. But from their expertise and them going through the process for so many years, they identified, and it was a great decision because I had an absolute blast with the Spartans, which were the youngest kids running around going crazy. Spartans. And then I went to day camp, and day camp is typically younger kids anyway. So I mean, we spoke about it at the start. That paved the way for me and really got me on a kind of focused path of, I'm really good at working with the younger kids. I know how to get the best from them. I know how to challenge them. I know how to have fun and a good time. And the teenagers scared me a little bit because they were a bit too cool. But, still managed to do a few soccer activities with them. And then, you try to get some cool points.
So, do you know, on that one, I think a really cool point of what you've just mentioned there is even without sort of too much formal experience, it really mattered who you were as a person. Yeah. The fact that you wanted to get stuck in, and even if you were a little nervous prior, you had that support structure with camp, didn't you? So it was like, you as long as you put your all into it, even if you don't have loads of different qualifications, that's not the main thing. It's what you bring as a person to kind of go, do you know what, I'm going to do my best for the kids.
And they helped me identify that. So I was 18 and it wasn't like, this is what I can do. It was kind of like a little bit nerve-wracking of like, hang on a minute, I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe I am. And they were like, take staff week and they watch your interactions with other people. You get to speak to the counselors who've been there. So it's, what are the Spartans like? What are the Rangers like? Or what are the Knights like? And they were the different boys' age groups. Yeah. And from chatting with them, it was very easy for me to make the decision of, I think my skill set would fit in with the Spartans. So when they recognized it, it was kind of a mutual, I'm glad you've seen that in me. Yeah, and sure. I'm excited for the challenge of it in that sense.
Yeah, it was similar to mine as well. For me, when I went, especially for the first session, the group of kids I had were 14 and 15, which it was sound, to be honest, and great for me because in my head, I was still just one of them. So I loved running about. If anyone wanted to play footy or anything, people just throwing an American football around. I was there like, go on. I had to have camp directors go, Mike, rein it back in. Just
for the kids. For the kids.
You're a water ski instructor. Go and do your job. Yeah. But that's the beauty of camp, isn't it? It actually brings out a bit of your inner child.
100%.
That's why you know what it's like, why it works for you. Yeah. Did that meet your expectations? So just as an example again, for me, camp, I had no idea what to expect. Yeah. I didn't have no friends or family that had done it prior. I just found it. I went, right, I'm just going to do it. And then it ended up being like that, where I was playing footy constantly. I was on the boat. It was mayhem in the best possible way. The role, especially, I wasn't sure what to expect, but the camp gave me a great structure to it. Did the role end up meeting your expectations, or what was different compared to how you had some preconceived ideas of it?
I mean, like, I had the cliched ones from like watching Camp Rock and seeing the Parent Trap, and I was like, okay, I've got a loose idea of what summer camp is. But then, you hear about characteristics, and one of the things about doing something in life is you've always got a preconception, and it's never spot on.
It's never right.
For good, for bad, for whatever, you always have your own learning experience. And for me, when I got told I was with like the youngest of the Spartans, so it was the 6 and 7 year olds. I thought I was going to be speaking about like Star Wars and Lego and Pokemon the whole time, but like these little kids have got like little pearls of wisdom, and they're just smaller versions of us, and they're going through life learning it all. And it sounds very kind of cliched, but you're the person who maybe helps them learn how to tie their laces or learn how to swim, and it's a huge part of their life. And I think you overestimate sometimes kind of what they can do at that age. And we were kind of the older brothers of them, where the older girls would want to come and give them a hug because they were so small, or pick them up. And we were like, well, let them walk up the stairs on their own, let them fall over and make the mistakes, and come to us when they're a little bit nervous or scared of trying something new, and we'll kind of open it up to them. So you get a bit protective over them as well. And it was really kind of empowering to have the kids come at the start who maybe didn't want to stay there, and they wanted to go back with mum and dad. And at the end of the week, they're crying because they don't want to go home. And then I'm crying because I don't want to say goodbye to, little camper Johnny, who I've helped kind of make an impression on camp. So very, very cliched, and it sounds very kind of true, but it's such a huge monumental feeling. And
it's only one of those ones you get when you get there.
Exactly. And I can explain that now, but until you're there, it kind of makes your hair stand up. It's a cool thing.
It does. I get goosebumps even just kind of thinking about it, to be honest. And genuinely though, because there's that time where that first week, which we spoke about in the last episode, about the training and arrival, and everything's all been crazy because of the adrenaline and stuff like that. But then when camp comes, when the campers come to camp, it is then just a different world altogether, isn't it? And that was the next one I wanted to kind of ask about, was what is it like actually working at camp? Because when I first arrived, I did not know what to expect. Others who had returned year after year, they knew what they were getting. But as a first timer, if you could explain to your Ryan younger self when you got there, what is camp like to work at?
So that first like staff week is just like you're a little duckling, and you're just following someone bigger than you, or someone who knows what they're doing, and you just stick with them, and you kind of sit down and you repeat what they repeat, and you have funny camp songs and slogans, and someone will say something, you shout something out. It's like, oh so when someone says this, we shout this. Okay, I'm picking up on that. And then the kids come in.
Shout stuff. That's number one.
Yeah, exactly. Just get involved. But then like the kids would come, and you kind of forget half the stuff, and you're like, oh no, the kids are here, I need to figure it out. But there's always that support network, and there's always people around. And for me, it was quite full on. And it was full on in a different way. So the first week we were picking up pine cones when the kids weren't there, or we were painting fences, getting things ready for the kids. And you were kind of like, I've come over for a summer camp experience, and I'm, doing manual labor. But when the kids get there, you then realize what you were doing that for. Kids would fall over, and you'd be like, well, I'm really glad we picked up those pine cones, because otherwise we'd have a bunch of kids screaming that they were, bleeding from their knees or whatever, or, you're clearing out the pool of stones and sticks. Really glad we did that, because now the kids are running around having a really fun time. So that element was really kind of given its purpose when the kids arrived. But waking up early and doing it for the whole day in the heat for me was very, very tiring. So it was a bit of kind of catching up and looking at my co-counselors being like, is this what it's like the whole time? And they were kind of like, pace yourself. If you need to go to bed, go to bed. And that's one thing I always tell people, and it doesn't hit home until the end of camp. And it's kind of like, it's okay one night to go to sleep when your kids go to sleep, and
got to look after yourself
and rest, or don't eat 2 cheeseburgers at lunch, eat a cheeseburger and have a bit of salad, or eat some fruit. And 99% of problems, this isn't medical, don't quote me on it, can be fixed with drinking water and going to sleep a little bit earlier. The amount of people I've seen who have got the flu or are feeling a bit under the weather, a bit of water, some fruit, you'll be kind of right as rain. If you need medical help, go obviously see the nurse or doctor. Don't take that as verbatim.
Do you know what though? And that was one part I actually forgot about. And I remember kind of describing it, because when I first went, I was in between my 2nd and 3rd year at uni. And I literally described it a bit like freshers flu.
Yes.
Where you're around loads of new people. You're not particularly looking after your health and your diet the way that you could do in terms of drinking water, eating healthy and stuff like that. You'll be going to Walmart, you'll be getting all sorts of nice sweets and everything.
In bigger quantities than you've ever had in your life.
Much bigger quantities. I came back a bigger quantity, to be honest. And all of that, and it's very easy to neglect that. And I think if you do, that's where you will feel a bit run down. So I really like that, where you kind of say, it is right to take your time, isn't it? You are going to be working hard.
It's a marathon, not a sprint, because it's
marathon, not a sprint.
10 weeks.
Yeah.
And that first half week, you want to do everything, and you want to meet everyone, and you want to stay up really late and make those friends and stuff. And it's the same throughout the summer. I've been guilty of staying awake too late and the next morning needing an extra cup of coffee or a Red Bull and thinking, oh, I need to catch up here. But, you know, it's one of those things where kind of the kids get you through it.
Yeah.
And it's a really strange thing of they energize you so much more, and you can be having a really bad day where you're thinking nothing's going my way. It might be raining. You've got to do like rainy day activities where you're in the cabin and you're trying to think of ways to entertain the kids. And then you'll have a conversation with a kid, or you'll see them achieve something or smile or introduce you to a game, and their face lights up, and it's kind of like, I know why I'm here now. This is the reason. And it can turn your day around so quickly.
It does. Because they come out with just, at times, like if you've worked with kids before, or you've got like younger siblings or family members, like, I know we all can, but they come out with the maddest shouts.
Proper zingers. Just like, what are you even thinking? And they'll make you proper belly laugh.
Yeah.
And it's just, those are the kind of things I look back on, you know, thunderstorms, playing cards. Yeah. And there'll just be a kid shout something. And you're like, what are you talking about? And everyone will start laughing. And
definitely.
It's like one of those core memories that we talk about where you just remember it forever. It's cool.
It sticks with you, isn't it? And I know what my answer is for this one, but is it like any other job you've ever experienced?
No, it's it's the hardest job that I've ever loved. Like I would go back and do it in a heartbeat. Phrase,
by the way,
like
the hardest job I've ever loved. I love
the
that.
The days are long, but the weeks are short. It's like it goes in a flash, and you look back at it, and there's those times where there's a thunderstorm, and you've got to bring the canoes out and tip them upside down. And you're there and you're thinking, what am I doing? Yeah. I could be at home. I could be, you know, in my own room with my mates back home doing things that, you know, that I've done previously. But then it's those moments where you get back into the cabin and the kids are so excited because they thought you'd gone off and done something else. Like, Ryan's back. We can do this or this. It's just something that it's hard to quantify and put into words, really, which is obviously what we're trying to do.
Well, yeah, and it is like that, isn't it? I think sometimes it can be so easy because it is hard work and you will be working long hours. But I always say this, and I can get away with saying this because I've worked these types of jobs as well. I've worked like heavy sort of pressure office environment jobs where it's real sales. And when you then go to camp, even though at times you go, I might have to get up early, or you'll have the odd time where you haven't had a great sleep or anything, but you're there kind of going, this is one of the best possible jobs you could ever do.
I get to go rock climbing with a bunch of kids. I get to shoot archery, go canoeing, go kayaking.
Taking the boats out.
Your meals are all prepared for you. You have to do a bit of cleanup afterwards maybe, but you've got people there to help and support you with that. You've got a camp nurse if anything goes wrong.
Exactly.
Everything is just there for you
the structure's there
to utilize. Yeah. And I think that helps for giving the kids a bit of program and structure. So even on those days where you're feeling a bit under the weather or down, you get to go to sleep and wake up the next day and do it all over again with a different mindset. The sun's out. It can have a massive effect on you. The kids will tell you the funny stories and do all that kind of stuff. So it's weird because it is hard work. But I always think, you know what, you've got a group of 10 kids who you'll never have this group again. Exactly. That's your group for the week or 3 weeks, depending on how your session works. You get to really have an impression on them, and vice versa. They get to have an impression on you.
They make a huge impression. And I think it's about kind of enjoying it in the moment as well, because it's so easy to take it for granted. The fact that you're in incredible weather, you've got all these amazing people around you. And sometimes you might go through the motions on certain days, but that's where I'll always suggest just take it in even then, because you'll get to the end of summer, you'll get back, you'll go back into a so-called normal life job, and then you kind of go,
what was I complaining about? Why was I worried about this or that?
Yeah, I'm ready to get back into it. And I think that's a great one. And I think that's one thing where, say, we're talking about going back into, I call it a normal world type of job. There's lots that you can take from camp, isn't there, in terms of like your, let's say, soft skills, the likes of confidence, team building, communication, or the actual hard stuff where you've actually learned technical skills. I don't know, say if you're on a boat and you've learned certain parts to do with that. What type of stuff did you feel that after your numerous summers at camps, what have you kind of taken back with you that you've went, I've been able to use this in my career or where I've gone in my next job.
Definitely, I think communication obviously is like one of the big ones. Being able to speak to children and kind of explain complex activities or schedules to a 7-year-old. They're like, well, hang on a minute, I can only remember up to 3 o'clock. They had no concept of kind of time and space. But then also having to deal with really kind of high octane activities like the high ropes course and
absolutely
helping assist with that. So taking on kind of those skills. So you kind of become a little bit of a master in all of them, maybe not technically certified, but enough to be able to help out on a ropes course, for example.
Jack of all trades.
Yeah, exactly. Down at boats, it's really important. Water safety, wearing life jackets, the appropriate technique of getting back into a canoe if you fall out of it, all stuff that you kind of carry with you. And although my day-to-day, I don't really assist anyone getting back into a canoe, it's logical thinking. It's how to kind of attack different problems. So it definitely helped me. And I use most camp examples when I'm interviewing for roles. Kids get dropped off, essentially they are the customer, if you will, if you want to put it into like a business perspective. And parents are quite hard to please. They expect quite a lot. And these summer camps aren't cheap. Mine was a YMCA camp, but it was still $1,000 a week. So it's an investment. And some children would come on scholarships, but still the expectation was there of, I want my kid to come and have a great program. I want the cabins to be clean and I want them to be maintained during the week. And we would have to help the kids clean up, teaching 7-year-olds why we have to sweep and why we can't leave sweets on the floor in case mice come in. So, little things like that, all the way to kind of cleaning up our table after lunch and dinner and why we should respect everyone who works in the kitchen because they've just made us all of this food. And although you don't see them all the time, we should go and say thanks and we should be polite all through the spectrum of a 7-year-old's head. So a huge responsibility. And I think there's definitely ways that you can take it and not twist it, but really kind of use it in a practical element in interviews for whatever role that you're going for.
I think that key word you just said then, as well as responsibility. So I feel like, before camp, there's a lot of people that might not realize like the actual amount of responsibility you've got on your shoulders. And that's not saying that to put pressure on people, because it's an incredible environment. You love what you do. So you don't really even feel that responsibility, but it is there. It's
an exciting challenge.
It's an exciting challenge, and that type of thing. I feel that you probably have more responsibility at camp than what you would when you come back home to a university or an existing job.
Because not only are you responsible for yourself, you're responsible for all these little humans as well. That's in your cabin. And then you're responsible during activities. We'd go on nature hikes. We'd be 2-3 miles out of camp, and you've got a walkie-talkie, and you're thinking, what if something goes wrong here now? It's me and another counsellor. What do we do? And I'm weird. My head goes to like strange places. I'm like, if someone breaks their leg now, what do we do? And you make up a plan in your head. I was like, so if that happens, we'd have someone run back to go and get someone else. We'd kind of get the kids over here doing a different activity, and then we'd stay with the kid to make sure they were safe. And I'm like, I just did that in my head in 30 seconds.
And you have to, though.
And nothing had gone wrong. We went on a nature hike and came back, but you get a new way of looking at things, and it's challenging in all of the right ways. And because we hold the kids to high standards, you have to hold yourself. So
100%.
We make our bed every morning. I don't do that some mornings now, but it's we can't expect these kids to do things that we're not going to do. We ask the kids to eat their fruit and veg, so we have to eat our fruit and veg, and it's kind of a fun challenge. And you can make things like cleaning and doing the bathroom a really fun, engaging activity. And at the end of the week, the kids go home and they tell their parents that they've been cleaning the cabin, and their parents are like, what? My kid doesn't even pick up his own shoes when he takes them off. And it's
whereas he might do after camp.
Exactly. And it's kind of just that whole, it sounds very regimented, but it's little things like that can really make the experience.
Building good habits, isn't
Absolutely,
it? And even for ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. And the kids will hold you to it. So, you didn't take your shoes off when you came in the cabin. Oh, I'm so sorry. I asked you to do that. I should do that. Let me go outside. I'll take them off. And, a very cliched, simple example, but it kind of works. And the kids hold you to account. You hold them to account, and you just leave as better people.
That's it. And it's the best way to kind of look at it, isn't it? And I think one thing I always mention to people, and this is going off on a bit of a tangent here, but there's loads of skills that you can take. And it's made me a much more rounded professional on loads of different things, whether I've improved sort of my empathy or my communication, dealing with these challenges, etc. But one thing I didn't realize is how directly it can affect your career as well. I think we're a great example with the fact that I'm now working for a cultural exchange business. Here I am on a podcast talking about summer camp. Yourself as well, you speak to countless people every single day. Did you even realize that these sort of avenues were available prior to camp?
No, I mean, I went to camp in between university. I got a marketing degree. I thought I was going to wear a suit and live in London and work in the city.
Yeah.
Rock and roll, cool. Like that would have been a good option. But when I came back, because camp had such a profound effect on me, I went into a recruitment job. And as soon as a position became available with Smaller Earth, I interviewed and was lucky enough to get it. And I knew, I put a lot more effort into that job interview. I've applied for things before where it's a stopgap. It's I need money. I need to maybe grow up in the eyes of my mum. I need to do something to pay the bills. But it was really like a passion of like, hold on a minute, I can then be the person who helped me get to camp and hopefully use my experience and expertise, if you will, to get people to go, because I think everyone should go somewhere and meet people from different places. Yeah. Summer camp might not be for you, but if there's a part of your brain that thinks, you know what he said on that podcast sounds interesting, or what I've seen on TikTok, or that thing in the film, I think I'd like to give a go to that. And it's that initial jumping in. And when I'm speaking with people, hopefully I can identify good skill sets and who I think would be a good fit. And camp is for everyone. It's for sporty people. It's for arty people, people who are into music, people who maybe have never thought about going into the great outdoors. You know, it's still cabins. There's still buildings where you go. It's not all rustic. Yeah. If you're looking for the Bear Grylls experience, we can help you out with that. Yeah. But there's something there for absolutely everyone. And we want to kind of get that out there.
It's nice having had our eyes opened by going to summer camp of the different opportunities that your career can have to then be that eye opener for somebody else, because we've seen it firsthand where you go, do you know what? It just opens doors you didn't know kind of existed. Exactly. And I think one thing which does do that is definitely working with kids. Yeah. I think it displays so much about a person's character, their determination, just who they are as a person, that they want to kind of inspire that next generation and kind of go make sure that they have a good time and stuff. However, working with kids is wild. Yes. It is wild. You would probably know that even better than me, being a camp counselor. Yeah. So what was it like when you first went into this role, working with children? Yeah. How was it?
I mean, it's a whirlwind. They are so energetic and on. For the 7-year-olds, they'd be up from 7:30 in the morning. They'd usually take like a nap during the day, during rest period, and sometimes we would as well because we needed to catch up, but they need to be constantly engaged. Everything needs to be programmed, whether it's, right, we're going to tidy the cabin now. And what I want everyone to do, you've all got your individual jobs, but I need you to do it really quickly because we're going to go and do archery next. And we want to do archery for as long as possible. Yeah. And that means we need to clean up really quickly.
Clean up quicker.
So you can kind of see the cogs in their brain working. It's this is what we're doing now. And the reason we're doing it now is so we can do this next. And then later on, we'll go for lunch. Because I know some of you are hungry right now, but let's kind of focus on this. We'll do archery, and then we've got lunch. So
by the way, it shows I'm still a child in my head because you're saying that, and I'm there kind of going, well, we need to hurry up and tidy up here because I want to go to archery and I want to eat as well.
Exactly. So it's everything's programmed. And then in that, most of the children will listen and do it, but there'll be children who need extra direction. They don't understand what you're saying. I talk funny because I'm from Britain and I use different words.
I got that a lot when I went.
So it's a lot of kind of, right, everyone's off on that task. Let me go find the people who aren't getting it. Slowly explain it again, maybe change the activity for them. So you're constantly on alert, watching everyone run around doing these tasks. You've got to be alert of conflict between it. And 7-year-olds are pretty much just bickering about, I was here first, or I want to play with this toy. So it's compromise and teaching the children about compromise.
Sure.
But then you get to archery and you've got to program your walk from the cabin to archery, which is 10 minutes. Yeah. So we're going to sing a song. Some kids don't want to sing songs, so you have to give them the action of playing the musical instrument or clapping along or whatever.
You've got to wear loads of different hats, don't you?
Exactly, and that's, in the span of half an hour, and probably thinking, I can't do all of that. But you've got your co-counselors there to help you out, and there's kids who are happy to take on responsibility. Right, you're going to be the leader. You're going to be at the front of the line, and then you're going to be at the back. We used to call it like a sandwich. Yeah. So you'd have fillings between your sandwich, and you'd walk to archery. And there's loads of tools that you'll learn by doing it and going through it all. And then by the end of the day, they get a little bit more tired and then they go to bed and you get to do it all over again the next day.
And you do, and I think that's it. As you're doing it, you do just learn. Yeah. Like, even if this is something you haven't done prior, or if you want to be a teacher or anything like that, where you're involved with primary education and younger kids, these are skills which just through your day-to-day, you do pick up. Yeah. I think one of the things that reaffirmed it the most for me was when you have some of those memorable moments? Do you know, like the inspiring type of moments where you're like, this is something I've absolutely loved. And it kind of reaffirms why you're doing it. And then you take that back with you. And that's a moment that you kind of go, I've made a real impact in what I've done in work. How many moments did you have like that when you were at camp, which you went, that will stick with me forever?
Minimum one a day.
Literally.
Minimum one a day.
Literally that.
We had a kid who would turn up and he would only eat spaghetti with butter on it. That's the only thing he would eat.
Spaghetti with butter?
Like spaghetti noodles, and that was all he would eat. Wouldn't eat anything else.
Wow.
Lunch and dinner, I think he ate cereal in the morning because spaghetti in the morning, we couldn't make that work. And
the chef was just like, look, we
can't
bend that.
Exactly. Throughout the week, we tried everything. We tried to be like, oh, it's really cool to eat carrots. Nothing. Look at everyone else eating they're all going to get dessert because they're eating their food. Didn't work. And we just left him. And we were thinking, you know what? He's not going to do it.
Yeah.
And then on the Friday, we had lasagna. And this kid just started eating lasagna.
Oh, brilliant.
And we were like in the corner of our eye, and we were like the counselors, and all the kids didn't really realize because they're so focused on eating. And we're kind of like trying to keep it like discreet as possible.
He's eating here.
And then when he got picked up, he had some bacon, some toast. He was eating all these different things. So we pulled his parents in, and we were like, we don't know what we've done, but he's now eating various different things. And they were so thankful.
Oh, I love it.
Because their life had been dictated on this kid just eating spaghetti and butter. The main one is when kids achieve a higher swim rank than when they came. Swimming at that age is such a big thing, and some 7-year-olds are on swim team and they can do lengths better than I can.
Yeah.
And others can't swim. They're non-swimmers, and for safety reasons, even in the pool, we put life jackets on them just to make sure that they can stay safe but still have fun.
Yeah.
So during the week, there's chances to retest. So when you see a kid go from a red band, which is a non-swimmer, to being able to go in the bigger pool without a life jacket, is like their face lights up so much because they've learned skills of swimming. And yours does as well, doesn't it? Like you see their you're
buzz.
Like a proud parent. Your eyes start where it's like, I'm fine, don't worry about me. But to see them kind of go, well, I don't want to be in this pool with a life jacket.
Yeah.
So they choose swim lessons, and we don't force them. They say, I want to do swim lessons. And they come back to you at lunch and they say, I got really good at swimming today. And they go, during swim, can we practice the strokes instead of, playing sharks and minnows? They want to do it. It's like, yeah, no worries. So you do it. And then if you're confident that they can pass it, you can go to the lifeguards and say, hey, I've watched them, I've worked with them, I'm really confident, I think you can do it. And you see it, and they get out and you know already what band they've got, but they come up and they kind of hold it and they go, look at me, I'm now a blue band and I can swim in the big pool. And it's just like, it's a proud parent moment without being a parent. It's weird to say, but it's amazing.
I can back you on that as well. So there was, this was one which was quite funny actually. So when I was there, and you take someone out for a session to do water skiing and stuff like that, and you tend to have a group of kids that would come down for one session a day for a week.
Yes.
So I had a group of 8-year-old girls who came down on, let's say it was Monday as an example, and they were petrified. And it didn't help that a huge fish just jumped out the water as well.
You're trying to get them on that,
I've just went, no.
It's not happening.
I went, okay, water skiing seems quite a way away here. Let's go out for a boat ride.
There we go.
So nice and slow, drove the boat out, and was great.
Yeah.
That was it. It was like, all good. We'll drive around for half an hour. We'll come back. Tuesday, I went, let's go for a boat ride. And I went, well, we've got a part you can stand up here, and it's nice and shallow.
It's not as scary.
Yeah. Do you want to jump out? Oh, not a few tears and everything. So I just obviously took the key off. I just jumped out the boat. I was like, look, it's fine.
Yeah, look at me. Do what I do. Yeah.
I had the speaker with us, put some music on, and they all jumped out, and then they had a great time. It kept building up, like day by day. And then I remember when it got to, I think it was Friday, and one of the girls was like, okay, I'm going to try it. And I was so glad for this person, because this person doesn't realize now, which would have been, 7 years later, this person who would be now 15, 16 has probably inspired all these other people to go out of their own comfort zone. Because this girl went, yeah, I'll try it. So we put the boom out, which is where you can hold on like that.
Is that like the beginnings of learning how to water ski, for example?
Exactly that, yeah. So it's not off the back of the boat, but you're holding on to the thing. You go nice and slow. It's a lot easier to get up. And literally first time she got up water skiing, holding on.
Nailed it.
Her eyes were like like, oh my God, this is amazing. And like, I was literally driving a boat and I think I choked up.
Yeah, it's mega.
Because I was like, 5 days ago, these were like,
wouldn't go in the water.
In the water. And then the rest of them in the boat were trying it.
They all wanted
and
to
they
do
all
it.
wanted to get in and everything. And then they said it's the best thing that they ever done. And it's only when you then look back that you have those sort of moments and you go, oh, do you know what? That's what it is about, isn't it? And that's the type of impact that you can have even without even trying.
And for me, someone taught me this when I was at camp. It's that initial thing is amazing, but that will be her reference point for trying something new and then telling other people. Let me tell you, when I was a kid, and this counselor called Mike, and you'll never hear these stories.
Yeah.
But they happen and they get passed on and passed on and passed on. And you know, she could become a teacher one day and she says, let me tell you the story of when I was 8 and I learned how to water ski and I was petrified. And then that allows a kid to, you know, go play softball or give basketball a try, and all these interactions get passed down, and you never will, you can't quantify it, but it's amazing.
And it happens to you as well. And I think as you then go on in your career, and the next thing I was going to ask was kind of like, what's had the biggest impact on your career? And sorry to speak for you, but just say for myself, one of those things is going out your comfort zone, being happy to try something new, to kind of realize that you're responsible for something else outside of yourself was a huge impact for me on my career, because I then kind of realized, no, do you know what? There's other things to be considering. There's other people's truths, how they feel, what they want to do. What did you take from camp, which was the biggest impact on your career?
There was one quote, and it's from Brown Bear. Her name was Meredith, but her nickname was Brown Bear. And during staff week training, her saying is, if you can't get out of it, get into it.
Oh, nice.
So
can't get out of it.
Can't get out of it, get into it. You haven't got a choice. You got to do this, whether it's picking up pine cones, whether it's learning how to rock climb if you're terrified of heights. It's this thing of just get into it, go all in, make mistakes, and there's a support structure around you to help you and do that. And I've been guilty, you know, in the real world of work, where I won't ask for help, or I won't want somebody to do something, or I want to do it myself.
Yeah.
Ask for help, make a mistake. You can't destroy something.
Yeah, absolutely.
We want the kids to give it a go and learn that making mistakes is okay. But yeah, if you can't get out of it, get into it. I think is a pretty cool saying.
Well, do you know what? I know, like at the end of each sort of episode, we like to do a bit of a sort of a 5-point roundup and everything. And do you know what? That sounds a great one to sort of end it on. But if you could kind of sum up what we've spoken about there, the different things about, say, your role or your career or getting involved, or if you can't get out of it, get into it. What would be the 5 points you would say, this is what you can take away about the impact it can kind of have on your career?
Definitely kind of jump in with 2 feet, embrace it. It's new. I think that's going to be a theme throughout. You know, it's every session, every episode we do, everything that's new is new to you, and it's fine. So, you know, jump in with both feet, get involved, make mistakes, ask questions. So that's like the first one. And another one is like, it's gonna be hard. Like, it's too right. It's summer camp. It's working with kids. It's doing fun activities. It's really long hours. It's the hottest weather you've maybe ever worked in. You're outside a lot of the time. It's okay to say this. Kids can sometimes be annoying, and they might rile you up the wrong way, and you might be having a particularly bad day where your co-counselors had to go off and deal with another situation. So it's just you and the kids, and they're not following the rules as well as they should be because they're tired and antsy and hungry, and it's.
We all get like it.
Exactly. So it's managing that, and it's gonna be tough. But those memories that we spoke about being amazing.
It doesn't equal it out. Equal it out. It goes so far beyond the little irritants and
the good times 100%
Yeah,
outbalance the bad times.
By far.
I can count the bad things that happened on one hand, but I could tell you stories. We could do 76 episodes.
We could keep going, couldn't we?
On individual things. So they're all there. I think we spoke about it, like the skills that you learn, you'll take into the real world.
Absolutely.
Whether you're going to be a doctor, whether you're going to be a professional football player, whether you are going to be an astronaut or a science teacher, or you're going to work in a kitchen, or you're going to be a roofer or a plumber, whatever it is, you will learn something from summer camp.
Agree.
That will help you in kind of your future life, if you will.
It's all transferable, isn't it?
Exactly. Working with kids is just amazing.
Yeah.
Like, they are hilarious. They're insightful. They're inspiring. They're annoying. They're just mini humans. the kind of pearls of wisdom that they come out with and drop on you. And I think for me, when I hadn't really worked with kids, you think kids are kids, but I think a takeaway is like they're just smaller versions of us. Like you can converse with a 7-year-old the way you would converse with your friends. There's different language and different ways to do it, but you can ask them how their day's going and they'll confide in you sometimes. They might have bad things going on at home and they want to share them with you, and they go, you know what, I had a really bad day today. You know, someone wasn't nice to me. It didn't make me feel good. Like, that's going to happen. Like I'm 28 and someone wasn't very nice to me today, and that made me feel a bit sad, but here's what I do to help, or here's what I think about that then gets me in a better place. Or, well, they might have been having a bad day, so they don't really mean it, and you have really meaningful kind of impactful conversations.
I love that as well, because I've always felt that the people that deal great with kids is the fact that they remember we're essentially big kids. The kids are us without the filter. That's kind of been put on us from work and society and stuff
social
like
norm,
that. Yeah. So apart from the fact they don't have to pay rent or tax, then it's
a pretty good benefit.
Just like us. Sorry, mate, I took you right off.
And then the last one, I think for anyone thinking about it, is this will have a meaningful impact on you as a person, but also in terms of like skills to take into the real world. If you want to go out and get a job in an office, if you want to go work in the cultural exchange industry, if you want to become a summer camp professional, you will gain something from going through the experience.
Absolutely.
Working at camp. I know people who've then gone on to become kind of, my friend Daniel did ropes at camp. He's just recently photographed the Olympics, rock climbing, and that was from rock climbing to photography.
That's class.
And he was like, well, I really like them both, and now he photographs the Olympics. You don't have to do something as amazing as he did. I know people who've become nurses. Erin, she comes back and she's the camp nurse once a summer. And it's amazing because I was a counselor with her teaching activities, and now she's looking after everyone at camp, making sure they're safe. So you can have a really meaningful career purely based off everything you learn at summer camp, and go to university, get your degree, go to school, do this, do that. But camp will change you for the better, both personally, but definitely professionally as well.
I don't think I could round that up any better than what you've just done. So I'm going to probably call it quits there, because I won't top that. But thanks very much, mate. I appreciate you going through it. And I think on the next episode, we're going to talk about the effect that camp can have, but then on your personal life as well. So thanks again. And chat to you soon.
Thanks for having me.
All good. Cut that part out at the end.